The Forestry Education Center at the Beltrami County Fairgrounds and the Forest Fire Lookout Association presents a tour of the fire towers of the Black Hills. You can't be in the Black Hills without stopping at two locations first, Crazy Horse Memorial and Mount Rushmore. People come from all over the world to see Crazy Horse Mountain. This short video before we do the trip to the fire towers is not to explain in detail what it's about. You can go to the website and see that for yourself. But it's a must stop if you're going to be in the Black Hills looking for a fire tower. Welcome to Crazy Horse Mountain in South Dakota. Both locations, Crazy Horse Memorial and Mount Rushmore, seem to attract the same amount of people, except at Rushmore there's 6 layers of parking because there's not a lot of space. Welcome to Mount Rushmore in South Dakota. You haul your water in the tank back there?
Yes, that's what that's for. That's for her trailer there.
Okay.
She's the main lookout. Okay, we got 47 degrees and we have 55% humidity and we have a 2.31. Wind is out of the east. Precip 979. Little hazy. Okay, now 47 and 55.
Is that road crummy?
Is that road to Elk Mountain still kind of crummy?
Yeah, it's We had 2 inches of rain last week, and that kind of made it really rough because it took everything soft off of it, and all that's left is rock. But when they came up last year, they put all these drain dips in. That saved the road because it didn't wash away. So
we can still get to the top probably, or?
What?
We can still get to the top, or?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we have that man. She's up there right now.
Okay.
So, yeah. And she has a little car, so it's pretty rough for her.
Oh, she drove a car up there.
Yeah.
Oh, so we're safe then.
Yeah, that's rough.
Great Plains, Black Hills, 633 on 606. Black Hills 623, Great Plains, Sister, go ahead. You can tell Black Hills 633 in service is 3, and Black Hills 331 in service is 3, and Custer. Great Plains copies, Black Hills 633 in service with 3, Black Hills 331 in service with 3, and Custer 801.
We keep track of all the engines, and that way, in case we need to know where they're at in a fire or something, we always have that. Great Plains, Coolidge Lookout, South Cicero.
Yeah, Mountain Lookout, Great Plains, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm in service for the day, and I have the weather.
Go ahead.
I have a dry bulb of 47, a wet bulb of 38 degrees, an RH of 55%, a dew point of 31 degrees. The wind is out of the east, averaging 16. Precip 0 overnight, about 85% clouds, and pretty good visibility, just a little haze.
Great Plains copies, dry bulb 47, wet bulb 38, RH 55%, dew point 31, wind east averaging 16 miles per hour, 0 precip, 85% cloud cover, good visibility, a little haze. Great Plains clear is 802.
Good copy. You're clear. That's done.
Great Plains, Custer Peak, north of Custer.
Custer Peak, Great Plains, on Custer, go ahead.
I'm in service for the day, and I have weather whenever you're ready.
Dave, what are you holding in your hand there?
This is a lightning map from yesterday, and those are all downstrokes, negatives and positives, and as you see, we had a lot, and with very little rain, so the possibility if it dries up enough today, we could have some smokes.
And you have a storm coming tomorrow?
Today. It's supposed to be a bad storm coming today, so we'll see. It's looking a little...
Black Hill 682, Great Plains, on Terry, go ahead.
A little stormy already.
Everybody was talking about a storm coming that day, but no matter which direction you looked, you really couldn't see any rain clouds or anything dark. It looked like a beautiful summer day, but yet the radio and the weather reports from the Forest Service said, get ready for some heavy wind and some heavy rain. Due to the ease of getting to the Bear Mountain fire site, this tower has a lot of visitors. Brad Wheeler, seen here, had made contact with Keith Argo, the chairperson of the Forest Fire Lookout Association. So I was able to solicit Brad's help on Monday to take me to some of these sites that were hard to find. Dave, thanks for letting us come up to the fire tower here at Bear Mountain. Whose phone is that?
That's my phone.
Well, you better get it then. We'll start out.
It's just a message.
Oh, okay, okay. Are you from the area, the Black Hills here?
Yeah, I'm from Edgemont, down south.
Okay. And were you a full-time Forest Service employee at one time? Or
I was a seasonal for many years, and a crew leader and in fire and law enforcement.
And how much time have you spent on this fire tower itself specifically?
About a week on this fire tower.
Oh, is that new?
But I've spent 4 years on the other Elk Mountain Fire Tower. So.
And what's the name of the lady that normally works up here?
What?
What's the name of the lady that normally works up here?
Colleen Weiser.
Okay, maybe. Now I noticed in the truck down here you got a huge tank of water. Does that get dumped into a holding system someplace?
Yeah, that goes into the holding system down there, and that goes into her trailer.
Okay.
So that she has water, because she stays up here all the time.
Okay.
And I stay down in a trailer down in TP Work Center, which is one of the Forest Service facilities. So.
How long has this tower been here? Any idea?
The other one, Elk, is 41, and I don't know this one. This...
Are they the same kind of tower?
This was rebuilt. This is the original tower, I believe. And looking at it very carefully, the structure's the same on the bottom, but the whole top was remodeled, changed. Maybe they wiped the whole thing out and started over, I don't know. But it's totally different. But it goes a long ways back. This was here 25 years ago.
Oh, okay. Well, at least you got power up here now.
What?
At least you have power up here now.
Yes.
In the past.
Yeah. And we have an old stove and an old fridge that probably come out of the 30s or 40s, and they still work good.
Came over in the Mayflower.
Yeah, really.
Now, do all the towers use the Osborne firefinder?
Yes. Yeah, it's the old classic, and it works well.
They're still making them.
Yeah, are they?
Yeah, but $3,000 though.
Wow.
So
is it still the brass, the heavy brass?
I think so. I'm not sure. The one I have is very hard to turn, so I don't know why.
Yeah.
Now, you said there's a storm coming. Is that a heavy-duty rainstorm, high windstorm? Or?
It's supposed to be lightning and the whole works. I haven't looked at the weather right away.
But now, does that mean you can't be in this tower when that happens? You got to be on the ground?
No, actually, we usually stay in the tower. It's the safest place because they're so well grounded. And if you're outside on top of a mountain, you're likely to get hit. So you're actually better off in here. And if it really gets bad,
I think I have the grass insulators.
We have an insulated stool, and these are insulators.
Right.
You can stand on it, and so you don't have to worry about getting shot.
Well,
but usually don't have to worry about it anyway. It's so well grounded out there.
Ever heard of St. Elmo's fire?
What?
Ever heard of St. Elmo's fire?
Yes.
Where
Yes.
it hits the building and dances around the room?
Yeah.
Had that ever happened to you?
No. Yeah, I've heard they actually will go in a ball right through a building or something.
You can see it dance around the room and go, you're in the middle of the room? Oh,
Yeah.
Have you been in any kind of wild storms while in the tower?
Yes. Last year at Elk Mountain, I had one come from Wyoming. When it hit the building, it was going 100 miles an hour. It's pretty well sealed windows, but it actually drove the rain right through the seals of the window. And I was standing on the stool because it was lightning, and I was drenched, and the floor got water all over it. It was quite a storm. And of course the tower's just shaking like this.
Oh.
It's pretty wild. And of course we lost, the next lightning storm, we lost our electric and our radio, everything. My trailer got hit and fried my refrigerator.
Another question. This Bear Mountain Fire Tower is open to visitors. Do you get a lot of visitors? Do people know it's here?
Yes. Yeah, especially on the weekends, we get a lot of visitors. Elk Mountain is getting more all the time. Even as bad as the road is, they still come up. And we get a lot of ATVers come up here, people in trucks. And we get people from the big cities.
How about somebody from another country?
Yes, occasionally we get that too. Yep.
There's a lot of Chinese people now coming to the Black Hills.
Yeah.
When does the fire season start here?
Usually around May 15th.
And you'll be here from May until when?
Until the end of September, first part of October, around there.
Now, what happens if you get a lot of rain one day? Then can you close down for a couple of days, or?
If they have something for us to do, in town, they may ask us to come in. Otherwise, we'll just stay here anyway. And you never know. Sometimes we had a big rain, and the very next day we had a lightning with it. And the very next day, I spotted a fire down there. So you never know. And I mean, it was green grass burning. How does that happen?
Yeah, that's my question. Now, how do these? Is that a lightning? Are the majority of the fires started by lightning?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Very few are by arson or by accident.
Okay.
This big one here, this 2000 fire, was arson. It was during a drought, and it destroyed a lot of
timber. Is there any logging done in here, or is it just staying natural?
What do you mean?
Any logging going on in here?
Oh, well, yeah, there's always thinning. It doesn't, we don't strip here, we thin, and we've always done it, because if we don't, we'll have devastating fires, and the bug will wipe out the whole forest. So we really don't have a choice. And for that reason, we produce most of the lumber for the United States, this Black Hills.
Comes out of here?
Yeah. Well, because the whole West stopped logging. And so we're the only ones left pretty much. And we don't, as I said, we don't have a choice. Unless we're going to lose our whole forest, we have to. So.
Jeez, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, most people don't. And as you can see, if you look out there, most of it's been thinned and it looks really healthy.
Yep.
And there's a good understory. It's good for wildlife. You can hike through it. If you don't manage it, it turns into a big jungle. And then when the fire comes, you can't stop it. So. And we just got rid of the bug last year, because they did a strong program of thinning, and that's the only way you can get rid of it, the bug.
Pine beetle.
Yeah, the pine beetle.
And by thinning, that they couldn't go from tree to tree, is that what it was?
At least 8 feet apart for every large tree. And
I had no idea.
what?
I had no idea you could do that. I thought it was,
Yeah, most people don't, and we've had people come and they're horrified. We're logging, and I say we're not raping, we're thinning. It's totally different. Yeah, we had some people from all over the country, a bike group, and they came up and they had they had rented a drone for footage to show their whole trip, and there was a drone up there, you know, looking down on me and on the bikes
That's
below,
nice.
just right out here.
That's really nice.
It's pretty cool.
I'm with Brad Wheeler. He's a fire tower enthusiast, and I don't know where to go in the Black Mountains. I can get myself lost pretty easy. So Brad is taking...
Black Hills, you lost already.
Black Hills. Okay, the Black Hills. And so Brad is going to be my tour guide for a few towers sites. He's got to be back to work in the middle of the afternoon. What brought your interest in the fire towers to know all about these towers here?
Well, I was born and raised in Rapid City, and I spend all my waking hours when I'm not working in the hills, or reading books about the hills, or exploring the hills, and I can figure I can only hike and fish so much and hunt so much, so I figured I'd maybe start hiking these towers, get to the towers and check them all out. I don't know why, because I'm afraid of heights, so doesn't make much sense.
Well, not anymore.
It was all I could do to hike up here.
Brad, have you been to all the towers in the Black Hills, or just...
Yes, I've been to all the towers.
Even the ones that are depleted or rusted?
Well, the depleted ones that are more or less foundations anymore, I've been to a couple of those, but there's still several that I haven't been to.
But for the most part, they're torn down and just laying on the ground, or?
Yeah, I don't know if they were torn down on purpose, or I'm sure they were.
Yeah.
But yeah, just like rock foundations left on several of them. But
oh, okay. Now, when we leave here today, where are we going next?
that way, Elk Mountain.
Okay. All right, that's the road you were talking about a minute ago.
Yeah.
Okay. Super. We're on our way.
Good.
The Elk Mountain fire in 2001, and but anyway, what I was telling him was that I got a visitor, a woman and her family from Iowa, and she used to be the lookout up in Elk Mountain back in the 80s, 81 or something. And she says the trees at that time reached the bottom of the tower, and the old cabin was there. She stayed in it. So that's pretty cool.
What was about to happen next I hadn't anticipated. I knew the wind was strong, but I didn't know how strong. I had one hand on the railing and one holding the camera. And at some point when I was facing into the wind climbing the tower, I really had a hard time hanging on to the yellow railing. Next time I'm going to put my camera in a backpack and bring it up with me. It wasn't until I got up into the tower here that I realized what the wind was after I was told it was really blowing. Shannon, a couple of questions for you. We're at Elk Mountain Fire Tower. How many years have you spent in this tower?
This is my first season.
This is your first season?
Yeah.
And you know there's a storm coming.
I've been told.
So do you plan to leave early then because of that?
It depends on how severe it is.
Now, it must be blowing 40 miles an hour up here.
About 60.
60 miles an hour?
Down below, it's probably about 40.
Okay, but there's no cabin to stay in down below, so you have to...
Yeah, I live on the government property.
Right here?
No, we have a work center.
Okay, so you have to drive up here every day?
Uh-huh.
How far of a drive?
It's about 19 miles.
From the highway up here, 19 miles?
From where I live, which you passed it, actually.
Okay, but from the highway...
From the highway to here, it's about 10, 15 miles. I haven't exactly gotten the mileage.
And you started this spring?
Yeah, I started in May.
And have you spotted any fires since then?
One. So that was interesting. So it was my first one.
Oh.
Yeah.
And which direction was it from the tower?
It was straight this way, actually. It's a mountain right to our
That's
right.
our south?
I'm still learning the directions.
Okay. Now, looking off that direction, that's Wyoming?
Yeah, that's Wyoming.
Okay.
And everything behind you, South Dakota.
Fax machine.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of power, lots of heat.
Yep, it's got a lightning map on it too.
A lightning what?
Map.
Oh, I saw that. Lightning, yeah. Dave showed me his lightning map. I'll take a look at it.
That was from yesterday. From the last storm we had come through.
.60-mile-an-hour winds, 40 on the ground. Had a hard time getting to the top of the tower. This is a 100-footer, isn't it?
79 feet.
79?
That's what I was told.
Okay. What's on the ceiling?
It is our crossing map.
Why is the can on top of the fire finder?
We have such a small tower that when people come up, they end up grabbing the nearest thing, and this ends up being the nearest thing, so we put the can
pull the can off and see what you got.
So it saves our crosshairs.
Oh, okay, so that keeps people from tearing into it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've already placed it once, because I accidentally cut the can off.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Put the can back on, let's see. I noticed the railings are all painted yellow. Is there a reason for it?
Just safety, and so you're aware that there's a railing.
That's a good idea. I think I'll do the same thing at the fairgrounds. We're coming off the fire tower. The winds up here are 60 miles an hour and about 40 on the ground. I'll keep the camera running in case I turn into Mary Poppins. Coming down the fire tower was a lot easier than going up. I'm facing the wind right now and it kind of pushes me back, so I don't have to grip the railing as hard as I did when I came up. I don't know who came up with the idea of a yellow railing, but I really liked it. And when I got back to Bemidji, Minnesota, I went out to the fairgrounds and I got some yellow paint and I painted the railings that you hang on to in yellow. I thought it was a good idea. Whoever came up with it should get a bonus, in my opinion. Are you ready to go back? Man, oh man, it's windy up here. Whoa! Can't wear your hat today. The wind is 60 miles an hour on the tower, and it's 40 miles down here. I asked her if she was going to leave early for the pending storm that's coming. Everyone's saying there's supposed to be a very severe storm coming late this afternoon and tonight. I don't see it, so maybe it changed course. I don't know if you can hear this or not because of the high wind. We're all through for today. It's about noontime. And we're going to head back to Custer to get some lunch. Brad's got an appointment this afternoon. Here on Friday. Brad, thanks for taking the whole day to show me all these towers. I wouldn't have found them on my own. I'd have been lost for years. Oh, geez. Well, the cattle are going the other direction, so now we're going to head down the hill.
What those steps are for?
I don't.
You don't know? Mom, can I go down? Yeah.
Friday, partly cloudy. Slight chance of showers and thunderstorms. Highs in the 70s. Saturday, partly cloudy. Chance of showers and thunderstorms. Lows in the lower 50s. Highs in the mid-60s. Temperature was 79 degrees with winds going up 40.
Since there's not very many towers that are manned, we don't triangulate anymore.
Okay, where are you on here?
Right here. That's Mount Coolidge.
How many years have you been on the Coolidge Mountain Fire Tower?
Since 04.
04. Well, being there's a storm forecasted here, what are your plans today if that storm materializes?
Warning the campgrounds and all the people in the park, and just watching. We don't usually get a smoke or fire going the same day as all the lightning. Usually the next day or two is when the fires pop up. So today will be mainly just warning everybody and hopefully keeping everybody safe. You turn and aim towards the smoke, looking through this side over here and lining up the crosshairs across from it. So you'll look through here.
Right. And then where do you get your reading at?
On the base here are numbers called the azimuth.
Right.
And it's very hard to read, but there are numbers on there.
Okay, so if I look through here, it's hard to line up unless I get real close to it, and I can't.
And then we go to our bigger map once we get a number.
And you then estimate the distance?
Yes, that's the hardest part, is getting how deep the fire is from here. It's pretty easy to get the range, the township, the general area, but to get which section it is, which you're saying how far it is out, that's difficult. It helps to know the area a lot.
If you get lightning coming your way because of a storm or a lot of lightning, do you stay here, or what kind of precautions do you take?
I do stay up here for a while, but if it gets too noisy, like if they have big hail coming in, I go downstairs, because not only the glass up here, but it gets too noisy and I can't hear anybody, like on the radio or the phone. So it's easier to go downstairs and take my radios with me. I do have a box up here that has insulators on it that I can get on, quote, and be safe. Because this building gets hit on a regular basis. My generator, I have a generator that'll kick on because of the power going out, will keep my radios going and the computer going.
What happens to all the power going to the radio towers then? Different system?
Different systems, yeah.
That's your phone.
Yeah. Oh. And nobody at the office, well, they should be able to call them and ask them where it is.
When in the spring do you start?
We open this up mid-May because they winterize it for the winter. So we open this up in mid-May before open house, and then we close it at the end of September, first week of October.
If it rains for several days, is there any reason you would stay up here? You go home or go shopping or something?
Well, I always work my shift. My shift is 3.5 days, and then someone else comes in for 3.5 days. So we work our shifts. So we probably wouldn't leave during our shift.
Okay, well.
But it's not like we have to stay up here through the night. For me, it's just easier.
Now, this is a lot of the public comes up here. Do you get a lot of visitors coming to the site?
Yes, lots of visitors. This parking lot empties and fills the deck. Lots of people come up here on the deck because you can see so far.
Do you ever go down and talk to people and tell them about what's going on here?
I can.
Okay, your choice that day.
Most of the time, yeah, I choose to stay up here and just do work on the radio, communicate with the people.
Okay. Now, this is June, so far, have you spotted any smoke so far?
Yes, we had one this week.
Last week?
We had it Monday. We had a smoke Monday because we had a lot of electricity here in the park Sunday night. We did get a ½ inch of rain, but I heard today it was a 9-acre fire that was in the Bear Gulch area, which is from here almost the last ridge you can see, but there was quite a bit of smoke coming up. It wasn't a column of smoke. It was, in fact, I called to say, is there some kind of plant, like concrete making plant, because there was just a lot of white smoke in the air, or dust.
And it was a fire.
That it was a fire, yeah. We've been lucky in the last previous years, recent years. We've had a lot of rain with all our electricity, so we have not had very many smokes in the park. We've had a few, but most of it was like 1/10 of an acre, which is considered probably a snag.
Now, once lightning hits, it takes a couple of days before it starts to show up?
It can take several days for it to smolder before we ever start seeing any smoke from it. So that's when we really watch the area, after electricity. So we're not only watching for smokes, but we're a lot of big time the communications in the park, because they can't talk to each other, because it goes from an elevation of 7242 down to 3600. So they can't always have cell coverage or radio coverage. So we're kind of a go-between dispatch.
I repeat. Okay. I know you see Crazy Horse Mountain from here. You see anything going on over there?
So I've set up here and watched the night blast. They do that twice a year. So I've set up here and I open the window. I can not only see it, but I can hear it. So it's quite awesome to see and hear. And then the rock falls after the last blast of it.
They tell me they have a laser light show. Can you see it?
That is on the, I can see the flashing of the laser lights. I can't see the pictures because it's on a face that I can't see.
Oh, they have pictures? I didn't know that.
Yeah, they tell a story with the laser lights.
Oh, okay.
So it's worth seeing once at least, you know. But the Volks March that goes up there twice a year.
The what?
The Volks March, where the people can walk up the 6.1 miles.
Oh.
It's a 10K. It's out of Germany, the Volks March idea.
Okay.
And it's an organization, but anybody can go hike, and they can hike up and get on the arm of Crazy Horse. I can see the people. I can't see individuals as such, but I can see people hiking up there. That happened National Trail Day weekend.
Besides buffaloes, there's cows, and there's cows all over the place. To keep them from getting out, they have these cow guards. The cows will not step on this and therefore stay on the other side. But the baby cows and the big cows will cross the road, and you have to give them the right of way. Especially the little ones, they don't want to even move. There's some fencing. Now, how about this for fencing? I don't know what it does, but it sure looks awful expensive. On the drive up to Summit Ridge, we met somebody walking along the road. He said he was staying in this cabin. I was hoping he'd come back so we could take a look on the inside. Brad's heading over to the tower. There's a lock on the tower, and they're asking people not to climb it. So I don't know when the last time it's been used. Well, clearly there's no indoor plumbing, but the accommodation are just fine. Here's something you don't see very often. It's a clothesline to hang your clothes on so they dry.
This cabin's for rent.
As we were driving to our next fire tower, we saw the sign saying Hot Shot Base. So we drove in to talk to a few people and see what this facility was about. There was a lot of cars there and closed up buildings, so I guess the hot shots were on a fire someplace. There wasn't one person to talk to. The buffalo have the right of way. I asked somebody who raised the buffalo, how do you know when they're dangerous? What's the sign? What's the clue? He says, watch their tail. As it swings back and forth and hangs down, they're comfortable with their surroundings. If the tail goes out straight and has an arch to it, then be aware and get out of there. They're about to charge. They're very nervous, and that's the first indicator is the tail. Cars don't seem to bother them, but big trucks, watches one run away, then he stops. Our next stop in the Black Hills is the Rankin Fire Tower, located in the Wind Cave National Park.
Howdy, my name is Tom Farrell. I'm the Chief of Interpretation at Wind Cave National Park.
Tom, I'm here to do a story about the fire towers in the Black Hills. Are there any fire towers that come under the jurisdiction of the National Park Service?
Wind Cave National Park has one fire tower, the Rankin Ridge Fire Tower. It was constructed in 1953, and it was last active in the late 1990s.
Was there any reason for the close down?
I think they realized that they just didn't need it as much as they had in the past.
You talked about a new technology for locating lightning strikes. I've been told that's the biggest problem, the lightning strike. What is this new technology you're talking about?
We use lightning maps that we can get online that tell us after storms passed over where the lightning hit. Then we just kind of keep an eye on that for the next couple days.
Is that website or web page available to the public, or is the government?
No, it's a commercially operated website to my knowledge.
Oh, so anybody can call it up if they wish.
Yeah, I need to double check that before you print that.
Okay.
But my perception is we pay a subscription for the service.
Oh, okay. Now I understand. No.
Yep.
I mean, it's probably. Do you think there'll ever be a need to have somebody be up in the Rankin Ridge Fire Tower?
Occasionally we put people up there during severe storms. We'll put a law enforcement officer up there, just kind of keep an eye open in case there's any tornado activity in the area. But other than that, we really haven't used it very much in several years.
Tom, how long have you been involved in the National Park Service or working for the National Park?
I started working for them on the weekends in the fall of 1977 while I was going through school. I actually grew up in the area. I worked here seasonally in the 80s and 70s and 80s, and then went down and hit some other parks. I've been back here since about 2001. I just encourage people to come see it. Right now it's closed. You can't climb the stairs.
I saw the sign, do not climb.
Yeah, we're hoping to get it open here in a few years, but it's just a classic Western fire tower. You know, it kind of speaks back to a bygone era where you had these people living out there by themselves, watching for fires. You know,
it's coming back. We have a story of a fire tower out west where the airline pilot retired, and he looks into L.A. or one of those big cities from the top of the mountain, and the people renting them. So the new generation is, what's a fire tower?
Yeah.
And we're trying to educate them through an association.
It tells a fascinating story.
Tom, thank you for taking the time today.
Nice to meet you, Dave.
Bye-bye. Well, I decided to walk up the road instead of taking the trail, which would have been better. I met a family that came to the Rankin Fire Tower for their first time. I see you hiked all the way up from somewhere. Where are you from?
Cincinnati, Ohio.
First time in the Black Hills?
Yes, it is.
First fire tower you've been to today?
First fire tower of the day.
And this is the whole family?
Yes, it is.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Next stop, Custer Peak, and the drive up there was harrowing. Here the road looks pretty good. As you get further up, it got narrower and narrower, and closer you had to be to the edge. Really didn't like it. I did park down below and followed the lady up to the fire tower to see what the place looks like. Even then, walking this narrow trail, it got narrower and the rocks were slippery. I was out of breath. I couldn't keep up with her. Now, when I was first driving up, I noticed there was a pickup truck ahead of me, a white one that belonged to the Forest Service. And I figured, well, if he can make it up, I can make it up. Somehow he got turned around and came down, and the two of us had to pass. That was really exciting. I asked him, was the turnaround area on top very big? He said, yes. Well, when I got to the top, it took me a while just to turn the truck around. I know that I probably shouldn't have taken the truck up there in the first place. And I found out later, most people come up there on a side-by-side ATV, which I could have rented down below the mountain, but I didn't know about it. One of the concerns I had climbing up and going down was the loose shale you had to walk on. In some places, if you slid off to the side, you'd be in the brush. Other places, you could roll down the side of the hill, maybe 100 feet on this loose rock. So I couldn't keep up with her at her speed. I had to go slower because I was concerned about stepping on a loose stone and sliding. It wasn't as bad going up for some reason, but coming down, yeah, that's something you had to watch for. It was an endless walk, back and forth, in order to just get there. And the only reason she went down below the hill in the first place a ways was because that's where the outhouse was. I learned later that the wind was gusting at 50 miles an hour. It didn't seem to have too much impact on me like Elk Mountain, but it was still a concern, being the camera was in one hand and the other hand in case it was available in case I fell. Custer Peak Fire Tower was built in 1911. In 1935, it was replaced with a cupola building, and by 1941, the Civilian Conservation Corps constructed the fire tower that we see here today. The cab upstairs is 14 feet by 14 feet, surrounded by a catwalk.
Oh, not windy enough, is it? Come in here?
Oh.
Alright, my name is Georgia B. We are at the Custer Peak Fire Lookout Tower in the Black Hills of South Dakota in the North Zone near Spearfish.
How many years have you been working up here at Custer Peak?
This is my first season up here. Let me turn this down.
Okay.
This is my first season up here and my 6th day on the job. I've mostly been doing training until now.
Now you're going to be here all summer?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, how do you get up here with the ATV?
Yeah, I drive over to the Mystic Hills RV camp at the bottom of the hill and then drive the ATV up the rest of the way.
Okay, it's a narrowing job to drive my pickup up. I'm a little nervous doing it.
Yeah, it's I drove a pickup up here a couple of days. It's pretty exciting.
Since you've been here this year, have you spotted any smokes yet?
I haven't yet this year, no.
You say this year, were you here last year?
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay.
There's been a couple fires this year, but I haven't had eyes on them. There's been hills and stuff in the way, so. Did
you try to drive up your vehicle at one time and said no go?
Oh no, I didn't even try to drive my van up here. That would not have worked out well.
Any wild stories going on you can tell me about working in the fire tower? Any rattlesnakes coming to visit you? Or
I haven't seen any rattlesnakes. I have seen a few marmots, and sometimes I can get my binoculars on a red-tailed hawk soaring out. That's pretty fun to watch.
How about mountain lions?
I haven't seen any mountain lions.
Oh, okay. Well, I would have gone outside on the deck to do a panoramic pan, but the wind was just too strong. In fact, I could turn the sound down, but the wind was so strong it actually moved the camera when it was on the tripod. And I was better off inside, looking outside the window, out of the wind. I see you know about lightning. I see 2 stools with glass insulators. What were you taught before coming up here about lightning?
Well, I was taught that this tower is about as grounded as it's possible for a tower to be, so I feel pretty safe up here. I haven't been up here in a lightning storm yet, so we'll see whether I feel like I need to get on those stools or not.
Okay. Okay. On the fire crossing map, where are you now?
We are right here, in the middle of this circle.
What even possessed you to want to do a job like this? Where'd the interest come from?
Well, I just graduated from school, I applied for just about everything I could apply for. And for one thing, this was the first place that called me back. But also, I like being in high places. It's kind of, I get visitors up here, but there's a lot of solitude as well. And
It's a heck of a, people walk up or drive up or what?
They'll drive up to the little lane and walk the rest of the way up. So yeah, that's why there's a little bit of solitude. The other lookouts on the north zone get a lot more visitors than I do.
I can see why. This is hard to get to.
That's actually my backup flag. My big 4x6 flag actually got torn apart in the wind yesterday, so I had to put up my little backup flag.
Well, yesterday the winds were 60 miles an hour. A couple of the sites would tear it apart.
Probably got that high up here too. It was pretty wild.
I'm looking at a bunch of, looks like fluorescent light panels. What do these things do?
These are radiant heat panels. If it gets too cold up here, I can turn a little dial over there on the lower wall and warm it up in here a little bit.
Wow. And I noticed there's an old stovepipe. There used to be a stove here at one time.
Yeah, there used to be a wood burner. I don't know how long it's been since they took that out.
Well, you must get a few visitors because you have a selection of maps up here to hand out.
Yeah, got some literature.
Is most of the traffic people on ATVs, four-wheelers, and so forth?
Yeah, definitely. We get some hikers up here, but it's mostly ATVers.
Okay. As I went outside, I realized if I got on the lee side of the building, the wind wasn't so strong. I could put the camera down and at least get a panoramic shot of the view that she has without the camera bouncing around. Well, that's the road down there. Switchback, but it's a slow walk down by foot to get down to the truck. I had to go slower down the path when climbing up because if I hit a loose rock, I could really slide to the left and end up rolling down the hill maybe 100 feet before I got stopped. So I walked slowly. Okay, my truck's in sight. Glad to see the truck on this slippery rock. And then the slow ride down the rocky road. I'll be happy to get to the bottom without getting a flat tire or scraping the truck on the rocks someplace. I should have rented an ATV. Didn't know I could do that. That would have been easier. Oh well, next time. Well, that's not my truck. That's somebody else's. And there's my truck. I got down to the bottom just in time. I got a little rainstorm coming. I don't want to be up there with my truck in a rainstorm. Our next stop before lunch is to visit Scott Jacobson, the public affairs officer at the Hell Canyon Ranger Station in Custer.
Hi, I'm Scott Jacobson. I am the public affairs officer on the Black Hills National Forest and based out of Custer, South Dakota.
Well, thank you for taking the time to talk to me. We're trying to do a fire tower tour. How many fire towers come under the U.S. Forest Service jurisdiction here?
We have 5 active staffed fire towers on the Black Hills National Forest.
Are they all functioning? They have people in them?
Yes, there's 5 fully staffed towers on the forest. We've got a multitude of other towers that have been here over the past several years, but we are currently now staffed with 5.
Do you remember the names of them offhand?
The 5 staffed towers are Elk Mountain, and that's down in the Hell Canyon Ranger District. Bear Mountain Tower, that's down in the Hell Canyon Ranger District. There's Custer Peak, that's in more of the central hills, and then there's Cement Ridge in the northern hills, and then the
one of those.
The tower up in the Warren Peak is up in the Sundance area in the Bear Lodge Ranger District.
Is that in Wyoming State?
Yes, Sundance, Wyoming.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
All right. Of these 5 fire towers, are any of these open to the public to come and visit?
Yes, all 5 towers are open to the public, and there's generally a place that people can drive up relatively close and get up to the tower and climb up and hike up into the tower.
Someone told me that Custer Peak is a difficult one to get to.
Custer Peak is difficult. Yes, it's one of our towers in a remote location, and yeah, it's a hike to get up in there.
But if you use a side-by-side 4x4, you can drive that up to the top?
Oh yeah. If you got an ATV side-by-side, they're very, very easily able to access up there.
What time of the year do you start to activate the towers?
The towers are typically staffed from June 1st to about September 1st. And so those are our primarily active fire months on the Black Hills, although the fire season is really a 12-month season anymore. But the towers are staffed for the most part during the summer months.
Now, where do you find the people that want to work in these towers? How do you advertise for them?
Dave, the folks that have been lookouts on our towers have been here for years. It seems like the people that keep coming back year after year after year. Occasionally we'll have someone that'll go do something different in the summer, but they're seasonal employees and they just continue to come back, and they love working in those towers. And the people who have in those towers now have been there for years.
Now, on some of these sites, they live at the site, and sometimes I've heard that some people will work 4 days and have 3 off and then back, and some like to stay there continually.
Right.
How do they get out? How do they get out of there to go get shopping? It must be a couple of days they have to get down off the mountain.
Some of the folks will bring a camper, and they'll stay there. They'll keep the camper parked during the summer. Some of these towers have bunks in there, and somebody just sleep in there over the nighttime hours and work during the day. But for the most part, yeah, they work like 4 on, 3 off, schedules like that, and they've got vehicle access, and they'll just, they can run to town and they can go home for a couple of days and come back. But generally, we've seen several folks that'll come and they'll just put a camper there at the site, at the base of the tower, and they'll just stay there through the summer.
How about when you get new people in? Where's the training come from on what to do once they're in the tower? It must be a training program here?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay. I'll ask one of the fire tower attendants. Go from there.
Because I'm sure they got to know a good history of the land, and people come up and ask questions. They got to tell them all about what happened, on the land there. And the days when Custer came through, the lady up in Warren Peak has been phenomenal over the years. She knows the area really well, where Custer came through and the expeditions in the the late 1800s. And so, these people are really smart. They know a lot about the land and what happened over the last 100 years. And so they kind of need to be able to tell the public and share that story.
That must mean they have a lot of visitors then.
They do, yeah. We have tons and tons of public that visit these locations, and just really it's a neat experience to be able to tell our story from the tower perspective.
But that one road I drove on yesterday, I can't imagine anybody going up there with their truck.
Not all are accessible like we like.
Okay, Scott, if I get something else, I'll give you a call, but that's the end of my questions. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for coming out and doing this. Wish I had some time to go out and spend with you, but
I wish you did too.
This week is just nuts. It's just crazy.
Looks like a good collection of books. What do you have in your hand?
This book is a book on the Black Hills National Forest, Harney Peak, and the historic fire lookout towers. It's a wealth of information that shows all of the lookout towers in the Black Hills, historic information about the towers, and just really has a wealth of information. So,
can that be ordered online through here? Do you know offhand? You have to be here to get it.
So these books can be purchased online by going to blackhillssparks.org, and we have a brochure here. You can also order them locally, but these books can be purchased locally or ordered online.
Okay, I need to buy, this book is mine.
Yes.
I want to buy this one. If you're a fire tower buff, this book is a must.
Your change is $1.25.
Thank you, Rebecca.
You're welcome.
I'll be back.
Next up was lunch, and Brad recommended the Black Hills Burger and Bun Company is the best hamburgers in the Black Hills. I'm sure other restaurants will argue that point, but I went there again, and again. It was great.
Welcome to Black Hills Burger and Bun Company.
Fire Tower Lookout, which is not too far from the Devil's Tower. And right now we're in Wyoming, which is still a part of the Black Hills National Forest. I don't know if you can hear me or not. I'm trying to talk loud. The wind is strong. I'm at Warren Peak Lookout in Wyoming, which is a part of the Black Hills National Forest. Quite a substantial structure. The road up here was terrific. It was tar, asphalt all the way, except for 1/4 mile, which was gravel, and it was great. I was hoping somebody would be on the tower today, but not the case. Warren Peak Fire Tower was probably my most favorite spot, and part of that's due to the ease of getting to the site, but the view was spectacular. I wish we could have went inside the fire tower itself, but there wasn't anybody on duty that weekend. Would have liked to see what it looked like and had a chance to talk with that person. Warren Peak Fire Tower in Wyoming. I should also point out, you don't go to many fire towers that have a 2-car garage. Great location. The original Warren Peak Fire Lookout was constructed by the Civilian Conservation Corps in 1938. This tower was 10 feet tall with a live-in cab. In 1959, construction began on the Sundance Air Force Station, the world's first nuclear-powered radar station located on Warren Peak. The original Warren Peak Fire Lookout was demolished during the construction. In 1960, a new Warren Peak Fire Lookout was moved to a peak east of the original lookout. It was constructed with a 54-foot steel tower and cab. We're back up at the Bear Mountain Fire Tower. We were here earlier and we met with Dave. This is my last day before I've got to head back, so I thought I'd come up here on a clear blue sky day without a strong wind blowing on us.
Copy the Pioneer 60, got you back in company, 11 feet ahead.
It's gone down now.
It's been coming and going, so what the heck? It's changed quite a bit since I first spotted it. I didn't expect it to expand that fast, but I'm sure it's not that big. Well, you can't see Custer, and it's almost, I mean, it's just outside of Custer. Okay, I would think it would almost be 90 degrees from you, or pretty close. Oh, okay, let me pull down the map and try and triangulate it here real quick. Hang on, I'm going to put you on speaker. Oh, okay. Well, that would put it in 28. Huh. Okay, yeah, that would put it in section 28. I just, I told them over work I thought it might be closer to 20, but they'll find it. Yeah, it's standing up pretty tall right now. It just kind of, like the wind kind of blows it a little bit, you know, and then it stands up. Good. Well, I'm glad you could see it. I really didn't think you'd be able to.
Black Hills 632 in area. Smoke is in sight.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't even ask you because I figured there's no way you'll be able to see that. Okay.
Pretty much nailed it right there. I think it's kind of that knob right in the lower middle portion.
600, Great Plains on Cicero. Go ahead.
Here in show, Cruise 600, clear of a horse campfire, and en route back to south of Rockerville for project. And we'll be switching over to Black Hills Fire 2.
Copy. Cruise 600, clear of fire in en route to South Rockerville project and switching to Black Hills Fire 2.
321 tied in with 632. We'll be packing up and hiking in.
When I went back to Bear Mountain, I didn't expect to see any activity. Colleen was busy, so we didn't stay very long. Smoke was about 9 miles away, small burn. Crew was in. When I went down the mountain, I went around one hill, and the second hill, I had a really good shot of where the smoke was coming from. I don't know what was burning. I didn't have a radio to listen at the time. And when I changed locations on the mountain, it became more obvious that this truly was a wildfire, and the crew was in by foot. This is an easy site to get to. If you come to Custer, South Dakota, use one of the campgrounds there and start chasing fire towers for yourself. Hope you enjoyed our little historical travel into the past of the fire towers of the Black Hills.
We would like to thank the producer for staying at Fort We Like It Family Campground. It's a full-service campground with RV sites, tent sites, and even a teepee.
Hi, I'm Steve Saint, and if you're coming to look at the fire towers of the Black Hills, consider staying with us at Fort We Like It Campground. Everybody else does.
This is a different kind of tower. It's the Devil's Tower, just into Wyoming a little ways, and no, there's no fire tower on top. I didn't stay too long, just enough to take a look at the tower. You can walk all the way around it, but I decided not to. I went back to my truck, and down came the rain. On your way to the Black Hills to look at fire towers, here's another stop, the Badlands National Park. This was an ocean bottom at one time, and over millions of years the sediment came to the top, and that's what you see behind me. We'll take a short walk down the trail to see what it looks like. This particular boardwalk wasn't that long. The people in the distance that are walking this way, that was the end of the walk, but there are longer walks. There was also a campground on site run by the National Park, and when I got there that was filled up. But I was told if you go down the road about 2 miles, there are other campsites available, and I did. And it was kind of unique camping. You also, if you wanted, could rent a teepee to stay in overnight. Another stop on the I-90 concourse is the Wall Drugstore in Wall, South Dakota. I call this place the grandfather of the Mall of America. You can get lost in here. It's worthwhile stopping to see. Another stop on the I-90 corridor is the Mitchell Corn Palace in Mitchell, South Dakota. During its over 100 years of existence, it's become known worldwide and now attracts more than 500,000 visitors annually. The palace was conceived as a gathering place where city residents and their rural neighbors could enjoy a fall festival with extraordinary stage entertainment, a celebration to climax a crop growing season and harvest. This tradition continues today with the annual Corn Palace Festival held late in August each year. Our last stop on the I-90 corridor is an 1880 town in the Dakota Territory, with a population of 170 ghosts, 9 cats, 3 dogs, but look at the rabbits. Something happened. South Dakota's original 1880 town has more than 30 buildings from the 1880s to the 1920 era, authentically furnished with thousands of relics, historical accounts, and photographs. A Casey Tibbs exhibits, dances with wolves movie props, and fun activities for the kids. When Richard Hullinger bought 14 acres at exit 170 on I-90 back in 1969, he had no plans for an attraction. In 1972, a gas station was built at this location, along with forming an idea of an Old West attraction. About that time, a movie company came to a small town nearby to film an 1880-era movie. A Main Street set was constructed from old buildings, and a number of Indian relics and antiques were borrowed from Clarence Hullinger, Rich's father. Winter set in, and the filming was abandoned. The movie company returned home, giving the Main Street set to Clarence for the use of his artifacts. The movie set was moved to the 80 acres, and the 1880 town was born.
Okay, hi, my name is Jen. I work here at the costume shop at the Longhorn Saloon. We're in the back of the Longhorn Saloon. First we have saloon girl dresses. Sometimes we call them floozy dresses. Then right over here we have the Southern Belle dresses. A lot of different styles of Southern Belles. We would dress those up with a wide-brimmed hat. Then right over here we have some bigger, taller, fancier dresses, wedding dresses. We have some more Southern Belle dresses. And then we would dress those up with a nice wide-brimmed hat. And then these are some of the hats that we would dress up with the fancier dresses. We dress you up in gloves, choker. And then over here we have our prairie dresses, like Little House on the Prairie. We have a lot of different styles of prairie dresses. And then we have our cowgirl outfits. We would dress cowgirls up with a skirt and a blouse, then a gun belt and a gun and a cowboy hat. We can dress you up like a cowgirl. Then the guys, we dress up in pants and shirt, then a vest, chaps. Every cowboy needs chaps, and a hat, and a gun belt, and a gun, and a neckerchief. And then we send you out on the streets, and you can play all day long. You can even go to the dining room dress up if you want.
And no one else would come between, but now you've left me to love another. You have shattered all my dreams. If I'm in Bolivia, all I want is loving you and music for you, sweetheart. I'm in love with you.
If you were given this land, do you think you can make a go out of it? Make food for the summer to last you all winter? I kind of doubt it, but the pioneers did, and they must have been tough. I think it's a horse. I mean, sometimes there's a horse and a donkey mixed, and I can't tell the difference. Are you a horse? He's obviously been petted by a lot of people. Otherwise he wouldn't stand here like this. Is it a horse or a donkey, do you know?
Mule.
Mule?
No, that's a mule. Yeah, they're
That's a mule. This is what?
That's a mule.
That's a mule.
Yeah.
Well, did you hear that? They're not a horse after all.
Because of the face. You can see the faces.
This one's a mule. Did you know that? You're a mule. There's two of them here. They give rides. How far do they go with the ride?
They didn't say.
Oh, they didn't
go
say?
up to that building, or go up to that homestead up there.
Oh, they walk you to the homestead and back? Okay. I don't think so. It'd be too bumpy for the camera.
Well,
yeah.
that guy's sick anyway. Otherwise, they usually do.
Yeah, he's in the
both sick?
hospital. The guy
that runs.
Oh, the guy that runs. I thought you meant the donkey is sick.
No, the guy that runs
okay.
runs that part.
The donkey's not sick? Nothing to do with me. When I first saw this from a distance, I thought it was a real horse. And I thought he's not moving around very much. And I was, what's wrong with his eye? It's all red. I got within 10 feet and I said, it's not a real horse. Maybe I'll find a real horse yet. Lunch is served in the Pullman cabin. This 1950 Santa Fe train originally ran from Chicago to California before coming to rest at the 1880 town in 1982. While in the train, you can experience what passengers must have felt like while eating in the railroad dining car.
Well, thank you for coming, folks, to the 1880 town and the Longboard Saloon. We hope you enjoyed your visit. Bye.
This program was produced for the Forest Fire Lookout Association on the web, ffla.org, and the Forest Education Center at the Beltrami County Fairgrounds in Bemidji, Minnesota.